Hey, welcome to the Intentional Academy Live, Episode 3. I'm Tony Farrar. I'm joined tonight by Justin Thomas and my wife, Nicole Farrar, to help you squeeze every last drop of value out of your education. We're going to show you how to win through the power of intentional learning, and no matter where you are in life, we're here to help you manage your time, get control of your money, and launch that dream career. Tonight, we're coming at you live from the headquarters of... Well, actually, we're coming to you from our dining room table. If there's one word that you need to know right now about the Intentional Academy, it's bootstrap. You're not going to find fancy cameras and expensive lighting and backdrops here. We've got medium quality picture and medium quality sound because we're on a slow internet connection. And that's because everybody involved in this project is in the process of eliminating our debt. And so right now, this is bootstrapped. We'll invest in this soon enough, but right now we're making the investment in our future ability to continue bringing you the Intentional Academy. So enjoy the content. Don't judge the book by its cover. Tonight we kind of have two parts to this show. The first is talk for a minute about the question that every teacher loves to hate. Is this going to be on the test?
Everyone's asked it.
I've asked it.
I've asked it.
I ask it in the classes that I teach.
Justin?
Yeah, guilty.
You've asked that question?
After that, we'll answer some questions from the community. That's the show. That's what we do here every week. So, get started?
Yeah, let's see
Let's do it. So here's
we're talking about today.
The question is this. Is this going to be on the test? This is something that people raise their hand. They ask me almost every time I give a lecture, which is several times a week. I think when people ask this question, there's two different issues that come into my mind on why it kind of bothers me. The first is just kind of from an idealistic standpoint. I think it's a shame that people have to view learning and grades as mutually exclusive. I either learn or I get good grades, but it can't be both.
Yeah.
And then the more important one, I think, is that anytime somebody asks that question, I think they're missing the point of what an exam actually does altogether.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not what they're worried about, you know?
Right.
They're not thinking that way.
Right. And so,
it was a funny thing I thought about on the way home today. Do you think people view their GPA in the same light that they view their FICO score?
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
yeah, so I need excellent credit in order to get financing for this car instead of worrying about, do I even have the money to buy this car?
Yeah.
Same thing as, do I have the knowledge that I'm supposed to succeed in this class, or do I just have the number that says I succeeded?
Or am I even getting the value out of my education of spending all this money and instead of worrying about actually absorbing this information and retaining it for purpose, we just want to pass the class or get the grade or whatever. Which, I mean, it's ingrained in you from kindergarten.
From the beginning.
And this is a real problem, right? Because the way to be successful in high school is to get a high GPA and high SAT scores so that you get accepted into college. Well, that's easy because that's all that colleges really judge you on. There's this extracurriculars category too, apparently, on your application, but I don't know who reads that.
Well,
this is really weird.
There's just so much. There's so many applications that show up. I mean, you do have to find a somewhat quick and, dare I say, fair way to kind of make that pile a little shorter.
Right.
Because there's just no way to go through everything.
But think about this for a minute. When colleges do that, what they're doing is they're screening customers. The students are the customer, right? They're purchasing an education, and they use these two test scores to determine whether or not they're going to let somebody show up and spend their money at their business. Well, it makes sense, right? No business can provide a high-quality product to an unlimited number of customers.
Well.
Except for us, of course.
Except for these new internet businesses.
Right. Well, but you don't see those colleges doing extremely well right now either, which is kind of interesting. See, other businesses, when they want to screen customers to match their ability to produce a product of certain quality, it's really simple. They just raise the price. We have ideological reasons why we don't do that in colleges, and so we use things like test scores as our way of filtering out how many people come.
Now, let me ask you this from another perspective. A lot of the ways that teachers are graded themselves is test scores and how their class is doing to the test. You have standardized tests coming through public school system, where a lot of, you've heard the term, they have to teach to the test, because they a lot of times their livelihood depends on, unfortunately, depends on how well their class performed on that standardized test. So that has to somehow trickle into the student's mind as well.
Yeah, Tony's mom was a teacher, and she's talked about that all the time, about how she's an excellent teacher, and she was too good of a teacher because their school needed to show improvement. So, you know, it's like, you need to do poorly so that we can show you're doing better. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Which, by the way, is the exact point of all of this, right? It's the same question, right? Do we do things that look good on a test, or do we do things that are actually education? Yeah. Are we trying to do the best thing, or are we just trying to score good points? Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, here's the difference. That worked getting into college, because if you aren't a successful student, you don't really cost the college a bunch of money. On the other hand, fast forward to the end of your college degree, now you're applying for a job. In your first year at your job, you're going to cost the company that hires you somewhere between 2 and 3 times your starting salary. And they probably won't make $1 on you, at least the first year. And so they're risking a lot of actual money investing in you, and they're hoping that when you show up, you'll be able to add value to that organization that, first off, pays the expense of having you there, but then gives them a return on that investment.
Yep. And most of those jobs have on-the-job training, or OJT, that they have to put you through, just because you have to learn how that business or that entity does their task on a daily basis, or how they treat certain situations.
They're hoping that your GPA and your experience in college is going to show your ethic, you know, to learn and work hard to then do well in their training or whatever it is that you got hired to do. So it's still the focus.
Right. And when they stand to lose so much, of course, they're going to put you through a more rigorous screening process, which is why you have an application, and then a phone interview, and then an on-site interview, and sometimes it's even more than one on-site interview. They're trying to screen people out before they make this huge investment. So here's the problem. Before this big system, before the internet, before there was more or less an unlimited number of candidates for any job opening, a crap human could hide behind a good GPA. They'd get more, the expense of bringing them in was so high, they're hired, well, we'll just take it and we'll fix it. That's not the way it works anymore. You don't pass the screening process if you haven't actually learned. And so studying for the test and just focusing on getting that grade really isn't enough anymore, because the market is going to judge you.
You have a 4.0, but you have very few social skills. You don't get out. You're not able to work well in a team. You're not able to allow other people to have some sort of piece of the process as well, and in order to, because I mean, pretty much any business you go to now, for the most part, you're going to have to work in a team, some sort of product team. People are going to have some sort of specific roles, and you all are going to come together to put out a product. You're not going to sit there and do everything. So you're not going to be doing the PR and the marketing and the design and the development and the manufacturing. Like, you're not going to be doing all of that.
And if you haven't earned that grade, learning any of those things, getting it some other way.
Now, I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, and when he initially did his speed expansion on his marketing company, he didn't do a lot of screening. He said, you know what, I'll give you a chance, and he got really, and it's kind of terrible to sound, but he got really good at firing people. So that was one of, so there are certain methods. I don't know if that's a very conventional method that is seen a lot, but
yeah, but I think the point that you're trying to go at is the grade's not
enough. Sure. Well, because that's actually the perfect example. It might be a little unconventional, it might be a little new, which we better be prepared to embrace. The interesting thing, though, is exactly what I'm saying. The market judged them. If you did a good job, you stayed. If you didn't, you were out. what he did was he reduced the cost of bringing somebody in
instead of investing all that
before he could fire you easily. Right? Yeah. A lot of companies, by the way, are moving to these 90-day probationary periods.
Oh yeah,
yes. I had a year.
No, nothing. 90 days later, then we start that stuff.
Yeah. Sort of like a trial period.
Now, don't get confused with what Tony is saying. You should still try to do the best you can in school because you can use your GPA to your advantage. There are methods of, I've got a high GPA, I'm also very personable. You can use that to maybe squeeze a few extra dollars in negotiation when you start. I know when I started with the government, if I started with above a 2.9, I started at a GS 7 step 5. If you had below a 2.9, you had to start at a GS 7 step 0. And we're talking $9,000 to $10,000 to start, which is a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, that's huge.
So you can use it as a bargaining tool. Don't not focus on it. But
no, we've not transitioned completely. I mean, it's still a foot in the door. I mean, you still might get that phone interview because of it,
right?
But you might not stick around,
right?
Just because of that.
And that's the thing. Even worse than all of that is the first thing you're going to be filtered by still is that GPA.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a computer somewhere that's going to decide whether or not you get a phone call based on that number.
What was the statistic you gave, Tony? You said that if the job was posted online, you should just assume 10,000 people applied to it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there are ways that they don't have the physical manpower to review everybody's resume and interview everyone. So they do have to keyword a little bit. They do have to GPA. But honestly, your first job, depending on how long you spend at it and whether or not you go to, if you do leave, go to a similar job, your first job will be the only job you need to have a GPA on your resume.
Yep.
Good point. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
My GPA is not on there whenever I try to go for new positions or promotions.
Right. Because at the end of the day, even at your first job, nobody cares about your grades.
Yeah.
What they care about is what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's partially evidenced by what you've done in the form of getting grades, but it's also evidenced in other things you've done, internships, class projects, volunteer effort, these types of things.
Because, I mean, your GPA can show more than just the fact that you learn material. It can show that you take direction very well. You can show that you take responsibility in the tasks that are given to you. So there's
time management.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so what's all this have to do with an exam anyhow? Here's the wrap up on this. The point of an exam isn't to test you on a random 5% smattering of the material that we talked about in this class, or even ask a couple of questions about the big ideas. Well-written exams are throwing you into a situation where you have to apply some of the fundamental ideas of the class to a place you haven't been before. I don't care if this is a physics homework or an English class, right? Physics has a couple of basic rules. Guess what? So does literature. There's a hero. There's a struggle. There's a guide. You know, there are building blocks in every discipline that you study. And we don't care if you can analyze an air conditioner. We care if you can take the basic principles that are used and apply them to something you haven't analyzed before. And so a well-written exam is designed to do that, not to just randomly get you to regurgitate 6 things. And so the answer to the question, is this going to be on the test? The answer is always yes. It just might not be the test that you think it is.
Exactly. Exactly. So what do you think? Did you want to take some questions now?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So, questions from Reddit until our audience decides to, if they want to participate.
Which you can very easily by leaving a comment on this video or any of the social media that you see linked right about there.
So, first question. What should I minor in to improve communication skills?
Well, I was a communications major. That's definitely a useful one.
Yeah.
But public speaking, regardless of if you're minoring in anything, absolutely must take if that's something that you're striving towards, public speaking.
And communication skills, that's kind of a broad thing. I mean, are you visual communication skills? Do you want to learn PowerPoint and how to do effective slides? Or there's methods of not using the university and looking up your local chapter of Toastmasters. There's chapters, just Google it, and I'm sure there's a chapter near some sort of metropolitan area where you live, and they basically are a group of people that get together and help with public speaking. And so you go through and you develop a speech, and they help critique you and things like that, and you don't need to pay. You could just join the group.
And practicing is just
by the way,
imperative.
PowerPoint, Google, Toastmasters, that's 3 advertisements. You each owe us $100.
Drinking water out of my Yeti.
That's right. I have my Tervis of my wife's college.
And I have my completely nondescript
completely
white coffee mug. Especially brought to you by white coffee mugs.
Right.
All right, so here's my answer to this, which I think echoes yours. You shouldn't minor in anything to improve your communication skills.
Do all those things.
Why would you put yourself in such a situation just to learn one professional skill? The responsibility of an entire minor. I think we default to taking classes, spending money, because it's an easy way to hide, feel less risky, check some boxes.
Or to add to your resume saying, yeah, I'm definitely good at communications because I minored in communications. So
exactly. And you're learning those professors' methods, not all methods, and you're not necessarily, and it's not necessarily that those methods are the ones that are best for you and your presentation and your communication styles and presentation styles.
So instead of minoring in something, go out there and practice communicating. Go do work in a situation that forces you to communicate. Don't have any experience in that yet? Do it for free. Well, number one way to gain experience. Just do work for free.
Really interesting question to me, too, because we live in a world where people are constantly communicating.
Here's one, Tony. How about if you still live at home and getting involved with your HOA? Go join go join HOA, and that's kind of a small political organization too, and you'll be able to communicate with a lot of uppity neighbors that have issues every week.
Absolutely.
Or any kind of group like that requires you to talk in front of people, you know, or present your ideas clearly, and that's a really great thing to have practice with when you're interviewing too, because they're going to say, "Can you explain to me a time when you know."
Yeah,
we're able to present your ideas clearly and debate such and such. They'll ask you that. So, but good point. Don't minor in anything.
And beyond that, go ahead and do the following immediately. Start writing a blog regularly. Start communicating on social media with people. And if you're feeling really brave, start recording little videos like I do every morning.
Anybody can do it.
Or audio. Audio's big too now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you say?
Audio.
Just audio, yeah.
Why soon enough you'll be listening to this as a podcast as soon as we learn how to do that.
Working on it. We promise.
All right. What's next, Justin?
All right. I am a sophomore who has recently been put on academic probation for my GPA dropping below 2.0. GPA here. Now I am in a situation of my own conjuring where I'm basically failing all 4 of my classes due to lack of personal responsibility and time management. I've let my grades slip, and now I'm sinking. I don't want to blame outside factors like my part-time job or social situations or family issues. Should I take a semester off?
I'm going to let you start on this one.
Yeah.
What does Dr. Tony Farrar have to say about this?
I feel your pain, but there's one of 2 possible issues here. Either you're lazy or you're uninspired.
I think both.
I mean, I feel like in the question itself, they self-diagnose their problems.
Sure.
Right? And you know, to give the person credit, they deserve credit here, recognizing the responsibility issue and taking ownership of that is a huge first step.
Reflection.
The question is it because you're lazy? Because that's not a personality trait. That's an issue that you need to fix because success follows hard work. You're either going to put it in now or you're going to put it in later, but if you're going to reach success, you just have to get off the couch and do something. The more concerning one, though, is if you're uninspired. I actually have trouble not working because I love what I do so much. When I talk about work-life balance, it's me teaching myself how to turn my brain off and just enjoy the moment playing with my family instead. And that's because I'm super inspired. Now, did I feel that way about every single class I took? Absolutely not. I can think of several. Industrial electronics comes to mind.
Oh my goodness. How many times? I think we didn't go to that class more than we did.
But the light at the end of the tunnel still made it worth the effort.
Yeah. Well, you have something to learn from everything.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not going to love everything you do because it's not called easy work.
Nope.
It's called hard work.
Nice.
You know, you're not going to want to.
And it's not cheap right now either. I mean, if you're uninspired and just sort of wasting away at these thousands of dollars are just going down the drain. I mean, maybe you should take a semester off. Maybe you should take a semester off and do maybe do some type of manual labor or some learn a skilled labor trade or work on that and see if that's something you don't need a college education to do.
Sure. But you definitely don't want to lose any, well, not that there's much traction happening here, but knowing whether or not this person will go back if they feel that that's necessary.
Exactly.
You know, if school is definitely what they need.
Yep, they need to do a little soul searching. They have an understanding of what the problems is, but they don't have an understanding of why they're feeling that way. So,
but the bottom line here is to answer the question: you don't want to force things.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so, if you find yourself feeling worse and worse and worse because you're burning through savings or going into debt or whatever to fund this thing that's not working for you, taking a break's probably a wise decision.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? I'm guessing by the way this question is written, you're young. And if you graduate at 23 instead of 22, the world isn't going to be any different.
Even 25. Right? That's something else that people are not realizing. Everyone's trying to get done so quickly too, right? Rushing through college. I got done in 3 years. That's not necessary, especially with our life expectancy now. I mean, you know, I'm taking time off work to raise my son and any future children we may have. And, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, are you worried about going back to work? No. By the time they're all older, I'll be like 40. I still have another 40 years potentially to work and do something and have a whole other career, you know, in the second half of my life. And I feel like people get so hung up on trying to get things done quickly. I mean, we do that with a lot of things.
Yeah, where's the rush?
But there is no rush, especially when you're investing so much money and so much of your time. You want to know.
Well, what about this? What about you've just spent 4 years and thousands of dollars to get a degree, and then finally 10 years later, 15 years later, you go, okay, I'm done. I've messed up, and I'm uninspired in what I'm doing, and you want to go back to school because now you've actually figured out what you want to do with your life. But you're married, you have kids, and all of a sudden now you're worried about money issues, and now you have to figure out how to pay for school while potentially not working, and now you have kids, and there's a lot more on your plate. So spend some time, do some soul searching, figure it out while you're young, while you're potentially single.
While you have that opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Responsibility only increases as you move on, which makes it harder.
Yeah, and I felt this in college, and I know a lot of people struggle with it. You have invested all this time and all this money to a certain point, only to realize this isn't what you want to do, and you're not sure what it is that you want to do, but you just went 2-3 years in engineering, and you go, I don't want to be an engineer. You know?
That's right.
And too afraid to make a switch, you know, to switch majors, get pushed back.
Hey, Tony, how many majors did you change when you were in school?
Technically 3.
3 majors. But there's nothing wrong with that. And for people to expect an 18-year-old to know what they want to do with the rest of their life is a little ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's kind of daunting, yeah.
I mean, especially because we change jobs now so often.
Forget that. Yeah, I was going to say, expect an 18-year-old. How about expect a 33-year-old to know what they want to do with the rest of their life? I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Well,
I'm cool with it. I know what I want to do for the next couple of years.
To at least invest that money, you know, doing
sure,
something.
But even that, it's still, this is the other half of this coin, is we put way too much pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. To be done in time.
I got an engineering degree. I spend most of my day talking about this.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a single minute of my education was wasted, or a single dollar that I spent on that education was wasted.
Yep.
Here I am, mostly in the role. I spent 3 hours today. 3 hours today at the office with students asking me questions about life, how to get jobs, should they change majors, which,
time management,
you know, all these things that we talk about on the show. That actually happened today at work. I reviewed 6 resumes and all this. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I dissected somebody's submarine project and 3 other engineering problems too. But the point is, it's a degree, it's a major, it's not a marriage.
That's very good. There you go. All right.
What's next?
Next question. I'm currently majoring in aerospace engineering. I want to do mathematics, but I feel like there are less job opportunities. Should I switch?
Repeat that last part for me again, Justin.
It's they want to switch to math, but they feel like there's less job opportunities, and should they switch?
For aerospace?
You don't need more or less opportunities. You need the opportunity. Well, it doesn't matter how many jobs are open in a field. You just need a job open in the field you want to go work in.
If you want to work in it.
Well, what is math? I mean, do you want to be a elementary school math teacher where you teach 2 + 2, or do you want to be specific in non-Euclidean geometry? Like, what do you want to do with math? You're already in engineering. That's pretty much math. You take 1 or 2 extra classes, and now you have a minor in math. What do you want to do in math? It sounds to me like that question needs to have a little more focus.
Well, I feel like it's backwards, right? Because clearly this person is worried about getting a job and not about whatever it is that is inspiring them to be an aerospace engineer or a math major.
Are they doing engineering because of the monetary aspect versus the lack of availability in math, which they just assume there's a lack of availability depending on what they want to do?
There's the big issue. We constantly operate under this conventional wisdom. They say, whoever the heck they is.
Who say?
Right? How about actually know the market? What do people with the degree do? Not what's the current list of job openings, because that's a very narrow view. But what do people do? 5 years from now, after they've graduated, what's somebody with a math major doing? Do you see yourself doing that? Yes, no?
What's the cost of your sanity? You take a job that pays $10,000 less, but you're doing something that you love. Is it worth a couple $100 a month?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So.
And the whole perception of what jobs are available is totally inaccurate too, because I can't tell you the number of people that I know who have gotten a job because they went out and made a job, not looked online. The amount of jobs that are available online, you can't go off of that if that's where you're looking at, or anybody else would be looking. But I know Justin just walked into yours.
Oh yeah, we have an internal job board, and I just patrol the internal job board. I knew career-wise where I was. It wasn't going to take me up the chain, so I just went on the internal job board, and I found a job that sounded interesting, and I immediately called the manager, and I went to her office and talked to her, and it turned into an interview. There was no online.
And I walked into the property management office where we were living because I needed a job when we moved. I was like, hey.
Well, and Tony, you have a statistic. Don't you have a statistic about how many jobs?
I want you to see if you remember the number. I'm remembering, this is off the top of my head, 70%. 70% of the jobs currently open in this country are not listed on the internet.
That's what I remember. 30% are listed. I believe that was what you had stated.
So it's something in that range. It's an astonishing number. It's not 2%. Well, side trivia for you here. What fraction of retail sales happened online last year?
I don't remember. You told me, but I don't remember.
It's probably about 25%.
Sure. 30%.
4%?
4.
That's crazy.
Well, Tony, why does the media tell me that the brick and mortar stores are failing?
Right. Well, first off, Amazon, that's a $100 bill. And
the Prime member right here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And second off, when you're used to seeing something, you think that's what there is.
That's true.
This is, my world is very narrow compared to the real world. There's just the things I see. And the same is true for you. And you see the internet and you think that that's how you shop. But look how many brick and mortar stores there are in your town.
Well,
there's a lot of them.
It's also even just college, right? I forget what the statistic was, but it was staggering. The number of people in this country that aren't in college.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I think it was like 23% of the people are in college of the population, which is strange to someone like me or Tony or most college students, because you're surrounding yourself with college students. So you feel like everybody you know is in college, but that's not true. You know? And,
huge world of opportunity, both with and without a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you need to know the market.
Yep.
That's the bottom line here, is you need to know the market. Maybe you need more skills in the form of a minor or a certificate. If you want to get the job that you're actually after in math, maybe you need to study programming or any other number of fields. But once you know that market, you know, the college part is actually a pretty narrow part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
All you're trying to do is build some foundational skills that get you the next step.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to explore the things that they enjoy also, because we don't even know about jobs that exist right now.
Oh,
You don't even know they exist. You know, you're 5 years old. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a fireman. The actual number of jobs are endless. And the thing that's crazy is people say, wait, there's a job for that? You can play video games and people will watch? You know, that's a job, you know, and you don't even realize what's out there.
Well, it's crazy.
You haven't even thought of
we
it.
We haven't really digested the fact that this thing, Apple, that'll be $100, is 10 years. 10 years ago, the first iPhone came out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which was the first of these smartphone touchscreen things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's now a job out there posting Instagram photos all day.
Mm-hmm.
People get paid to do that. People get paid lots of money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't even exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There are people that literally don't use computers anymore, and they can literally do everything that they need to do to run their entire business through their phone. Check emails, do invoicing, sales, conference calls, video chat. They can Instagram and YouTube, and they can, you know, podcast. They can do it all from their phone.
Yeah.
Right. And the takeaway from that, once again, is just that study something you love.
Yep.
And always keep your finger on the pulse of that market, because it's changing really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't focus on the major and the job. Focus on what you love to do.
Exactly. Focus on you. Focus on what makes you happy. And what's the saying? If you do the job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. I mean, that's as cliche as it gets, but it's
real.
Bills scare the heck out of people.
Truth.
People want money. I mean, they're nervous. I know somebody right now who's about to graduate college and is thinking about getting a job totally unrelated to the thing they like to do and the thing that they studied, because it was offered to them at a good pay, a good salary, you know, and that's very appealing, especially for people who don't come from much and are really.
Now, I don't see that as a negative, though. I don't see that as a negative, though, as long as that is not their long-term goal. If they have that opportunity to help pay bills while they put boots on the ground and search for that job, then sure, you have to pay bills. We're not giving you an excuse to sit at home and do nothing.
But you have to be willing to continue to search for your passion.
Exactly.
While doing it.
Exactly.
You can't just get hooked in, and so many people get stuck in.
That's the danger.
You know?
Once you get comfortable, once you get set up.
Well, now I have a house, and now I still have to pay my bills, and I can't afford to, leave and move. Or people are too scared for change. That's the problem. They're afraid of change. But anyhow, any more on that question, or did?
No, I think that's going to do it.
Yeah.
I think
one more.
Okay, yeah, we can do one more. Why is going to college important?
I'm going to leave that one for you.
I mean, it helps pay Tony's paycheck.
It supports an adorable child needs.
Temple, that's $100.
Nice.
But
college is one of the last few places on earth where it's still okay not to know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay not to know what you want to do with your life because you get to try lots of things. It's okay not to know a lot of people because you get a chance to build personal, social, learning networks, professional networks. It's okay not to know how to do things because the whole point of being there is to learn how to do them. It's okay not to learn the stuff we talk about, time and money and all of that, healthy living habits, because you're surrounded by safety nets and people who are willing to do it. So I don't think everybody should go to college, right? I think it really is like 23%.
It's staggeringly low.
It depends on their definition of important. Why do you feel it's important? Is it because somebody tells you it's important, or because you know that to take the next step in where you want to be, you need a degree? I mean, you have to understand.
I love the symbol of it, even for people who aren't going, that there should be a phase in your life where you're just testing the water, where you're exploring, where you're hunting for the next thing that you love to do, because it's going to change, it's going to evolve. And this idea that we get on some conveyor belt and off we go down this path and that's the rest of our life, I mean, that's just not the way we live anymore. And so whether you're going or not, I think the attitude that it stands for of I can change my life by learning a new idea. Whoa.
And learning that new idea may not require a degree.
It might not. It's just when you're unsure and a lot of the things that interest you might and most likely do require a degree, college can give you an opportunity to explore those different avenues. You know, I mean, that's why I went to college. I went to college because I kind of had a vague idea of something I wanted to do, but I knew that going to college would provide opportunities for me to do that exploring with those safety nets.
Yeah, and I may sound like I'm coming off as negative for college. No, there was no way I was not going to college. I knew what I wanted to do in middle school. Like I'm not going to tell you shouldn't go to school, but as a mechanical engineer, I have gotten to know a lot of skilled laborers working those manufacturing lines and understanding that we need people. We may not be hand milling parts, but what we are doing is using a CNC machine that needs to have a person there. So we still have a need for those people that can weld, that can do these skilled labor. I mean, electricians, plumbers. There's a need for everybody. So, and it may not require. So I'm a big advocate for not forgetting the skilled labor market, because there can be a large amount of money and a lot of success out there if you're willing to do the work.
What's being considered skilled labor now, by the way, such as coding,
website development.
If you think you need a degree in computer programming to write a successful app, I invite you to check out Flappy Bird.
I knew multiple people that were incredibly talented with coding in high school, went to college, stayed a year, and were hired away by Microsoft to go code.
Yeah, because
they didn't need a degree.
They didn't need a degree. They just changing so fast that by the time you got out of college, you're going to be lagging behind whatever's currently going on. So you just need to be in it, you know, and certain degree, you know, jobs are that way. It's like changing so fast.
Okay, so put a lid on this.
Yes.
It's why is college important? Because it is a great place to learn things for people who need to learn them or want to learn them or have the luxury to be able to learn them. Should everybody go? No. Here's 2 reasons you shouldn't go right now to college. Number 1, if you know what you want to do and that it doesn't require a degree, you'd be wasting your time and money to go. And number 2 is if you know that right now you're not in a place where you're going to try your best, don't bother. You got your whole life ahead of you. Wait until you're ready. Maybe there will come a day where you do think, you know what, I want to learn something new and I'm going to try really hard and I'm going to go. That doesn't have to be today just because it's the normal thing.
Yes. I can tell you why I believe college is important. Tony has his answers. Nicole has her answers. Everybody's going to have an answer. Maybe you turn that question around. Why do you view college as important? What do you see the benefit of getting a college education?
Good point, Justin. Self-reflecting. It's important.
It is.
Your answer is, I don't know.
And that's okay. At that stage in your life, it's okay to go, I don't know.
Yep.
Go experience things. Go figure things out. Go work as many jobs as you can. Meet as many people as you can. Talk to as many people as you can. Travel as much as you can.
Yep. And don't be
within your means or under your means, obviously. We're not.
People are so afraid. Well, I can't just go to Europe and get a job. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely.
At one point, Tony and I both were looking at going and was it? I think it was India. I think there was there were some opportunities over there to go work in an engineering facility over in India. We had considered doing. I mean, there's lots. I mean,
other countries too, especially will do like English as a second language teaching. You know, it's like
cousins that did that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That, you know, that do that and get just exposed to new culture and new ideas. When we traveled through Europe, when we were backpacking in college, I met so many people, especially from Australia. I don't know what it is about Australia, but they know what they're doing because they're just, oh, I'm backpacking for 6 months. Do you have a job? No, I quit my job. I'll get another one when I get back.
Exactly.
I mean, they literally do that. Yeah. And then, oh, well, I ran out of money, so I decided to bartend, you know, at this place in Italy who needed a dishwasher or a bartender or whatever to make some extra cash to continue on. You know, and amazing. Don't be afraid.
All right, Tony, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony. Wrap it up.
Well, you know.
Keep us from going on tangents.
I think the best thing that could possibly happen is for you to be able to look back on your day, your week, your month, your year, your entire life, and most of the time be able to say, I did that on purpose. And what I mean when I say on purpose is you at least had some idea of what was going to happen if you did it, and you were cool with that happening. I did that on purpose. I made this show on purpose. I got out of bed this morning on purpose. It may not even have been the most responsible thing in the world to have done, but I did it on purpose.
Yep. Risk versus reward.
So with that, I think I'd like to say, on behalf of the entire Intentional Academy team, thank you for tuning in. If this was meaningful for you, it's probably going to be meaningful for somebody else in your life. Would you please consider hitting the like button, the share button? Most importantly, we'd rather answer questions that are relevant to you. Leave a comment right here or on any of these social platforms, and we'll actually address your question next week. Until then, have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.